everybody, this is Michael Helene and welcome to Restart. Today we are going to be working on the Blue Witch. This is the artwork that goes with my January ArtSnacks box opening. They were just 2 long videos. I had to do them separately. I apologize. But it gives you 2 videos to watch. And since I have so many fans right now, everybody's going to have so much more to watch. It's going to be great, right? I have like 4 people watching my videos right now, but I am going to keep doing this, and I'm going to do it until people watch my videos because I think I'm getting better and it's fun and I'm working really hard. So please support me. So anyhow, I sketched her out ahead of time because it was a long video and working with these pastels was kind of new to me. So I'm sorry about that. But basically, okay guys, real quick, sorry. My dog has to be with me today. So I apologize for the barking in the background, but she just had surgery and I need to be watching her because she already ripped her stitches and got a hernia once. The poor thing. Her name is Bunny. She's so sweet, but she is wild. She's a wild maniac. And we did everything to keep her calm. Everything. We tried so hard, but she just was jumping and running, and no matter what we did, she was like crazy. So now we have to like crate her and keep her in one room and make sure that she is not, getting everywhere or going all over the place. So now she's gonna be in the room with me. So if you hear some barking, I apologize for that. Okay, so back to it. So I did the sketch at a time. I basically just drew out a pretty girl, made her a witch by giving her a hat. I'm not super happy about how the hat came out, but I really like how her hair came out. Isn't that the most important thing always? Come on, ladies. You gotta, you know that that's how it is, right? And I'm sure all my fans will, all these people that I said were watching, I'm sure they're gonna love it. So, anyhow, hopefully there'll be more people eventually, right? That's what we're hoping for. So, anyways, oh my God, what's it called? The sketch. The sketch was done with the zebra MLP squared mechanical pencil, and it's a special pencil that has a unique design with an elliptical shape, so it doesn't roll. 0.9 millimeter square lead, which is kind of neat because it's like thicker and it gives you lots of line variation and minimal breakage. It was easy to sketch with. I didn't see any problems with it. You could definitely get some shading and shadowing and some different line weights and variations by just tilting the pencil. So that was kind of fun. I didn't necessarily need all that with this sketch, but if I'm doing a full graphite, sketch or something, I definitely can see how it would come in handy. It also gets dark and light, which, you can really vary it. So that was nice. It's a good pencil. I like it. I definitely recommend. And it retails for $1.91. I mean, that's a great price. So, and then I started by doing her hair because it just seemed the most obvious place to start to me by using the Sennelier Extra Soft Half Pastels set of 6. They retail for $17.95. Started with a mid color, like the medium kind of blue color, and then just started layering the colors based on where my light was coming from. I kind of was thinking the light would be coming from the right side, going kind of where my hand is right now. Because of the way that the hair was moving, it just made more sense to me to put the shadows sort of, further in so that the hair was blowing in the wind, right? So I used the darker blues on the inside and to create lots of dimension and movement. The colors of these pastels are so gorgeous. They're so much fun to work with. They blend so pretty. The paper that we're using is the Fabriano toned paper pad. It's 8.5 by 11 and 3/4 basically. It retails, I think there's 50 sheets. It's a big pad, so there's 50 sheets. I think it's made to use dry mediums. You could probably do a little bit of wet medium or a little bit of marker type of stuff. But if I used too much water, it did buckle a little bit. So just be careful with that. It's 120 GSMs, smooth, natural surface. And I got the clay colored one. So the blues were just gorgeous on it. I loved it. So anyways, I get the layers on. I take some of the powder off by dumping it onto a napkin or a paper towel or whatever you have. And then I can go back and use that. You could also put it in a dish or something. I was kind of playing with what I wanted to do with that. But by having it on like a real tight napkin that didn't have a lot of porosity to it, I was able to pick that pigment back up and sort of place it and move it and blend it utilizing a brush. I use my fingers sometimes. I even used it to put some color into her skin kind of softly, so it looked like a different color so you could see through it. This definitely extended the amount of colors that I had because the paper's toned and I've got all these different blues. I wanted obviously everything to be kind of gray and cool, but I didn't want it all to look the same, right? So I was able to definitely get a lot more variations of tones by doing it this way, by having the paper show through in some areas and not show through in other areas. Because I was newer to this type of pastel, and I do a ton of oil pastels. I just like them. They're smooth, they blend well, it's super fun. They're not, they're messy, but in a different type of way. Like, they're messy on my fingers, but they're not super messy as far as like flaking, because I do use like a creamy Sennelier. Hi, baby. Hi. This is my puppy. Making my puppy say, hi, bunny. Hi. So, it's just it was a little bit different experience. And of course, if you rub too hard or you push too much, you are going to wipe this off. So you almost have to like press it into the paper instead of like wiping it, if that makes sense. So I started learning that. And I also used a paper towel. You'll see later that I discovered that the rubber eraser, right? It's rubber, isn't it? Isn't it a rubber? Okay, hold on. Let me tell you what it is. The Kneaded Eraser. Right? So it was really, really fun to like blot it up and get it off the surface. And you can really just blot it off. It absorbs the chalk dust, which is great and doesn't damage the paper. You can also mold the eraser into different shapes to get different. Oh, here I am doing it. See, I'm not even paying attention. This is where I'm at in my life. So I used it to not only blend around the edges, but to blend inside the colors together by just pressing really, really gently and almost pushing the colors together. It was so satisfying. I could have done it all day. It was so much fun. I loved it. It was like, honestly, the best tool to use. It did, by the end of this painting, get very blue. But if you've ever used a kneaded eraser, you know that you can just fold it around a million times and you can kind of get rid of that. You can also wash them. I have done this before, and you have to be really careful because they will get like sticky if you. I just use water and I try to rinse like the excess off. So just be careful with that. I've seen people use like all kinds of different things, and I'm like, I don't know. I just feel like it gets like mushy feeling or something. So it doesn't give you as much control. Anyhow, so I did my first layer of the blue. And then I'm going back, and this is why this video got long, because I kept playing with the hair, and even though to me I'm looking at it now, I'm like, oh, it's actually kind of pretty. I felt like I could push it a little bit more and get more depth and more, I guess just more depth and more prettiness. Is that a word? I don't know if that's a word. I don't really care. I just thought it needed a little bit more depth, so we went back in with the darker blue and added in sort of the shadow or the darker shadows, like around her face where the light wasn't hitting, underneath the curls, of course, under the hat. And I kind of played with these until I just understood exactly how they worked. You can get pretty sharp edges if you, get the corner like almost to a point. Or like I said, you can use your rubber eraser to get anything that falls out or anywhere you don't want it, or just to blend those edges. So it was great. I had so much fun doing this. I'm telling you, it was like, I don't know, it was like magical, which I needed at the time because I started finally telling my story online. And I need to do the next one about the salon, and I'm like terrified to do it because I kind of went through some stuff, and I don't want to be one of those people that's like, oh, woe is me, feel sorry for me, blah, 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 blah. But I do want people to understand why I disappeared from the hair world for a little while. But I'm really thinking about making a comeback. I've been seriously thinking about going back and doing hair a couple of days a week. But it frightens me to no end, and I have no idea why. I was one of the best hairdressers. Definitely the best hairdresser in this area, but like one of the best hairdressers in the world. And now I'm like, no hair. I just want to do art and market myself and be alone. I don't know. Maybe it's an age thing. Maybe it's my kids. I don't know what it is. But so, okay, now you can start to see this come together. The darker areas, and see, maybe this is why I did hair, because I can do hair so good. And please don't burst my bubble, because I think her hair looks cool in this. It may not be perfect, I don't know, but I like it. I think it came out really neat with these, especially since I never used this tool before. But I'm using the lighter. I think I have the lighter gray I put in there, and then I did the white over top of it to really pop it. And you can see how satisfying blending this is. Just look at this. Oh my god, so satisfying. I'm telling you, I could have done 100 layers doing this. It was so much fun. And I got some beautiful, it looks like there's a million colors in there, to me. So this is the gray, so on the areas where the light's not going to hit it quite as much, right? If the light is coming from the right side, kind of where my arm is coming from, then the shadows are going to hit, the light is going to hit on the surface, and then the darker gray, it's not really dark, but it's like a light gray, but it's darker than the white, is going to give me some highlights without being too bright, right? So that's what I use that for. And I just kept doing it until I liked it. So, funny story, yesterday, my daughter comes home and she's crying, and I'm like, what is going on? Why are you crying? What happened? She said, this kid threw a worm at me. Now, this is my 6-year-old. My 6-year-old loves worms. He's terrified of flies, terrified of ladybugs, but absolutely loves worms, okay? And snakes and spiders. I don't know. This child is not my child. I'm convinced of it. So she is like all upset that this guy threw a worm in her hair, and I'm like, what happened? And she's like, well, it was my worm. And I'm like, okay, so how did he get the worm? And she's like, well, I let him play with the worm, and then he threw it at me. And if you knew Lonnie, it's so funny because in my head I'm thinking, okay, so she finds the worm. They're playing with the worm. She goes to hand him the worm. He gets freaked out and throws it, and it lands in her hair. And she's all upset that this worm landed in her hair. I'm like, Lonnie, you literally have worm families. This child is I feed my axolotl. I have two axolotl. I have Harley and Godzilla. And I feed them worms all the time, and she gets so upset that I have to feed them worms. She's like, they're like her pets. And I have a worm farm. So I have a black worm farm that is just a small, 5-gallon aquarium. And I just have a couple inches of water with some rocks and my little tiny black worms. They are really fun. I thought it would gross me out, and for a little while it kind of did. But they are look them up. Look up black worms. They form into balls, and they squiggle. Oh my god, it's again satisfying. Maybe I just like satisfying things. Okay, so here's where it gets a little messy. It was a little hard to obviously use these larger pastels, and I don't know if there's a trick to it or not. Again, I don't use these very often. You'll see me kind of blow off the dust every now and again, but I put some color in around to define some areas of her face. And I knew that I was going to use the pens for this. So I just put white where I wanted it, the blue where I wanted it, and then I used my finger to kind of smudge it out. And I did cut that part only because literally all I did was just smudge it around a little bit so that her skin looked like skin. So I put all those colors in that you saw a minute ago. I had the white on the nose, the white on the eyes, and then just smudged it around until I liked what it looked like. I ended up redoing her face a couple times though, because I think by doing that, like by going in and doing that, I erased some of my lines and I ended up creating these like Mama Jama lips that looked ridiculous. However, as I'm doing this, I'm like right on top of it, right? When you're sitting right on top of your work, or you try to get too detailed too quickly, a lot of times what ends up happening is you make these mistakes. And so I wanted to keep that in so you could see, like, even though I know how to draw a face and I draw many, many faces, you still make mistakes. You still make noses too big. You still make eyes, too wonky or sideways or whatever. You still make lips too big. Turned out that it worked in my favor because those grays, which look really dark on here, they actually aren't quite that dark, but I guess under the light they look a little darker. They're the cool grays. They are really, really, okay, sorry, I paused that for a minute, so let me get back on track. I had my dad walking in, so excuse me. And now I'm coughing. So anyhow, when I'm right on top of it, and I'm loving the hair, right? Like I'm super obsessed with the hair. I can't stop looking at it. So I'm doing the face, and I'm really just looking at how pretty the hair looks, and I get this like monster face. But it worked out really well because the darkness of that pen and the darkness of the pencil, like the two different depths and the two different values, when I went and put the soft pastels over top of it, they ended up sort of creating this amazing shadow, and it made the face look better. So you never know, it's like a happy accident, right? Isn't that what Bob Ross says? There's no such thing as a mistake, just happy accidents. Well, I can tell you right now, there are such things as mistakes because I've made many of those too. But in this particular case, it worked to my advantage. So in a few minutes, I'm like, oh, I step back and I look and I'm like, she looks like she has a ginormous nose and ginormous lips and ginormous eyes. And I don't know how I lost my sketch so much, but also, I mean, I can paint a face from scratch. It just was cracking me up. So I wanted to leave it in. I could have cut it out and sent y'all right over to where her face is beautiful. But I wanted you to see the transition from all this shading with this pencil and using these cool gray pens and how different it looks once I get all those colors and everything where I wanted it. Anyhow, I'll tell you another story. So see, ugly stage, right? This is my ugly stage. This is what I call the ugly stage. But it does get prettier, I promise. So this morning, my other daughter, she doesn't want to go to school, okay? Well, our cable was down last night, so we don't even have TV. And then, like, God forbid, right? And then our internet is out because something happened with the internet company, and so that was fun. And then, so we like have, we're just like flying by the seat of our pants over here, which is fine. It's okay. It's okay, bud. I already explained the bunny situation, so I won't have to go there, but sorry about the barking. So anyhow, we, she's like, I don't want to go to school. I don't want to go to school. I don't want to go to school. I'm like, you're going to be so bored here. Well, she started building something on Minecraft yesterday, and I'm like 99.9% sure that's why she didn't want to go to school today. But it was like, right when she first woke up, she didn't feel good. She said her head hurt and that she couldn't breathe. Well, she does have some allergies, so okay, I put some, stock in that. All right, I get it, right? So I said, blow your nose, get up and move around, see if you feel any better. She was not happy about that. Then her stomach starts hurting. And I'm like, okay, well, is it your nose or your stomach, or is it both? It's both, okay? Well, let's take some medicine. Let's see how you feel, blah, blah, blah. This is at like 5:30 this morning, okay? She has a nightmare last night that her dad is a black monster with crazy stitched eyes. This is my 7-year-old. And I'm like, and he was like chasing her around. Oh, here we go. Okay, so this is where I finally sit back and I realize that she looks crazy. And I start to use the lighter color to blend over top of these pen marks and to shadow down a little bit into the eyes so it looks like her eyes are sunken back a little bit more. I just think it looks so much better after this. So anyhow, she's like every 5 seconds there's another excuse, right? She's sick, then her stomach hurts. One sickness, then another sickness. And then she says, so it's like 10 minutes when this child has to get on the bus. We've gone through 3 outfits. We've gone through the nightmare dream thing. We've talked about this dream, and she said she was scared of that. I told her that if she stayed home, she was going to have to do homework and do schoolwork. And she hasn't missed much school, but she did miss a couple days, like a couple weeks ago, and I just felt like it kind of got her behind on like her money stuff, which is what she's studying now. So I didn't want her to fall further behind. So I'm like, you really just can't miss it. Plus you have Monday off. So as like 10 minutes before, we've gone through outfit changes. We've gone through her screaming and crying and all upset and all this stuff. She then tells me that this boy in her class somebody put a Post-it note, like a yellow Post-it note, stuck it to her butt. And I'm like, well, did you see somebody stick it to your butt? No. But everybody was laughing at me. And I'm like, okay, so then maybe what we should do is take like a bunch of sticky notes and stick them all over you. And then you go to school and you just walk around and be like, what? Okay, so see, looking better already. And you can see that I started filling in some areas and covered her mouth. But the way that shadow came out, it really made it look more like skin, and it kind of worked. Like by adding all those little white areas and then blending it out with the Kneaded Eraser. I don't know, it worked. And not only that, but those pastels covered that cool gray pen extremely well. I was very shocked that it covered it. With it being so chalky, I was shocked that it covered it as well. So I was much happier with this than with that. So, and then I did her eyes in the blue because I thought with the gray and the blue eyes and the blue hair, and then she's gonna end up with a blue hat, which looks cool. I thought it'd be kind of neat. So, anyways, so now we've come to this point where Loman has these Post-it notes, okay, and it cracked me up because this is the first time I've heard of it. She never mentioned it the day before. It's just one thing after the next. And I'm thinking in my head, all she really wants to do, and I know, so she does this fake cry thing where she like quivers her lip. She's done it since she was a baby. And I know exactly what that means. And if you're a mother, you know what I mean. You always know when like it's a real cry, a real cough, or real sickness versus fake. She started building this Minecraft thing. And I know for a fact that that's what she thought she was going to do today. Well, I'm not going to let you miss school and sit there and play Minecraft all day. It's not going to happen. She figured eventually she'd whine enough that, I'd I would cave, and then she'd be able to play, which is probably true. I hate to say it, but it's probably true. So anyways, my mom wakes up and she goes in there and she's like, what's going on? Grandma, right? She's like, what's going on? And she's looking at me like I'm like evil, and I'm like, no, this has been going on since like 5:30 in the morning where I'm not playing this game. And my mom, I guess, at some point says, so I go in the bathroom and she's talking to Loman. And Loman comes in the bathroom and she's like, fine. She's like, totally fine, okay? And she is like smiling, and I'm like, do you want to put your necklace on? She's got a little watermelon necklace, let's put it on. And she's smiling and she's hugging me, and I'm like, what the heck did Grandma say? And she kind of whispers in my ear, Grandma's gonna buy me more Robux. And I'm like, oh my God. So that's all she wanted. She was totally fine after that. I haven't gotten a call from the school. She doesn't want to go home. She's not sick. The child just is like obsessed with playing games. It cracks me up. So sorry, going back to the painting. So I'm utilizing the cool gray to define around the edges. This is the light cool gray here that I'm using to sort of just blend out between the graphite and the darker of the cool gray pen. And so it helped to blend, and then I just went back in with the darker and added those like deeper little areas around the eyes and around the nose and the mouth. Again, I'm not trying to make it look necessarily like, I wanted it to be a little bit cartoony, but in my style kind of. So just adding more details and defining some of the areas now that I have the proportions a little bit better. Her eyes maybe are a little bit big, but again, I I didn't mind that as much. It was the honker and the mouth that I was like, what the hell did I do here? What was I doing? This craziness. So we're gonna define the jawline a little bit better, which definitely helped because I felt like her chin also looked a little bit like weird, and I wanted a little bit pointier, kind of witchier. And then where the hair and the what's it called? The hair and the eye meet, I put a little more shadow there. I used the darkest gray pen for the pupils of the eyes as well as the eyelashes, and I just did a few little eyelashes. I didn't do anything major. And the pencil was great for adding, more depth in the areas where, the skin is closer to the bone, basically, or any of those hollow areas. And of course, any shadow where the hair is. So, I don't know. I'm trying to think of another story. I think I told you about the dog. She got a hernia. She has had 2 surgeries in the last 2 weeks because she ripped her stitches open from getting fixed because she would not sit still. It was crazy. We tried and tried to get her to sit still, and the child was just like a wild woman. And then now we're having to crate her and stuff because she had to go back and get opened up again. And she's 6 months old. It's just so hard to keep her calm. I mean, she didn't even act like she was in pain at all. I remember when when Dixie got fixed, my other dog who passed away a couple months ago, when she got fixed, she was laid out for, at least 2 weeks, at least. She was just done, but not Bunny. I'm sorry, my hand is causing some camera issues here for a second, but it does go away. I'm just kind of finalizing some small details around the face. Again, getting those shadows in there, making sure that it defines everything a little bit better. I definitely wanted this to look more, a little dark. But every time I moved my camera was doing some weird focus thing. And it doesn't usually do that, so I don't know what the heck it was doing. Maybe it had to do with the light going down or something. But you can see it. And I'm just dabbing on her highlights. I would have loved to have had in this box a red or something, or a pink, to be able to get her some cheeks. But I can add that later once I did the video of the box opening. It's just the box, so again, sorry about the dog. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I've explained the dog situation a number of times. My dad's in here. So, okay, now we're doing the hat. I colored it in with the darker blue. And then I just sort of go through and do detail until I liked how it looked. And I know that this is a little high right now, but I am going to bring this down in a minute. I think I was just going to town when I was recording. I wasn't really paying attention that I had actually zoomed the camera into her face. So I get smart here in a minute and realize that, oh, you can't even see the hat. But all I'm doing right now is just putting that blue into the shape of the hat. And making sure that I have that depth. So now I get smart and you can see it. And I have my digital glove on because it helped me not to smear all the dust around as I was doing this. So I just take, again, my darker blue, and I'm making sure that I have the shape that I want. And then we're going to add some highlights and make it look like she's wearing a little hat. Probably could have come down a little lower, but it was a sketch, really. I wasn't, this wasn't an amazing complete artwork, or at least it wasn't intended to be. But I do like it. I do like how it came out. Also, I don't know if you noticed, but when I was doing my blending, I took one of my fingernails off because it was really hard to blend with my fingers with the fingernails in there. So I took that fingernail off so that I could actually blend using... So, okay, let me explain. The reason I did my ring finger is there's not as much strength in your ring finger as there is in your other fingers. So when you use your ring finger, it's much easier to be soft about what you're doing, especially when blending something as soft as like a pastel like this, like a chalk pastel, because if you push too hard, obviously it's going to get very, what's the word? Like, you're going to almost push it off the paper. It just makes it a lot easier to do it without my nails, that's all. So I took the nail off. This is the dedication to artwork, I'm telling you. I'm kidding. They're literally glue-on, press-on nails, and they're super easy to get off. It's not like I spent like all this money to get my nails done and then removed it. Although I probably would do that too. But anyways, that's what I'm doing. It makes it a lot easier. And it's a good thing to know that if you're going to use your fingers to blend, that ring finger is the one to use. Because sometimes I'll go in with my pinky because I actually broke that nail. And the pinky, but your pinky, if you like press down, you get a lot more power from your pinky than your ring finger. Just try it one day. Press down with all your fingers and see which one presses the hardest. Ring finger is going to be the least powerful one. Less muscles, I guess. Did you say not you? You're a liar. It's a fact. It's a fact. A fact of nature. I don't know, there's something... A fact of Michael? No, it's a fact. I don't remember where I learned that from. It had something to do with makeup. Oh, it was makeup. When I was doing hair and makeup, we would apply concealer with our ring finger because you don't press as hard. You can't press as hard. And you have more control when you're blending with your ring finger if you're using your hands to apply something than you do with your other fingers. That's where I learned that from. I don't remember who told me or where I learned it, but I do remember learning it because of makeup. And that comes in handy when you're doing something like this. It's almost like applying eyeshadow. Almost the same sort of thing. It makes sense. That totally makes sense. So we're going to finish the hat here. I'm going to add a little belt. We're going to do some pen work towards the end to do the definition just like we did with her skin. What else do I do? I think I'm going to extend the hat brim just slightly. But I had so much fun using these blues, only blues to create this. And using the Kneaded Eraser to blend, using the Kneaded Eraser to get rid of all the little areas that I wanted defined, that I didn't want as fuzzy. And I think what I'm going to do is let you watch the end of this and play some music because, let me be honest, I've talked for 30 minutes about stuff you probably don't even care about. So enjoy the rest of the video. I hope you like her. I hope you enjoy my little blue witch. And I'll see you on the next video. Have a good day, guys. Like, follow, subscribe, all that stuff. Help me get some friends.